It's not even the month of April yet. Not even the month of April yet. And I'm already fired up. I'm already juiced up to get more of these pre-draft visits and what this could mean. And will the Eagles go defense in the first round or will they go offense? We'll see. But definitely a few things to consider here. Some new news from the league now when it comes to cuts this offseason, when it comes to the end of training camp, obviously the end of those preseason games. And the Eagles have to make some really tough decisions. And a player that the Eagles can still go get right now that is a free agent. A lot of stuff going on. So let's get straight into the news.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo! What is going on, guys? Everyone's having a great day today. So, yes, the Philadelphia Eagles pre-draft visits, and couldn't be any happier to bring in Nolan Smith from Georgia, man. Another Georgia. I think the Eagles just love Georgia at this point. I think Nolan Smith would be so realistic, okay? And if the Eagles miss out on Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, and they feel like, Nolan Smith, I wouldn't take him at 10. Obviously, he would be a trade back candidate for myself because I would try to at least, trade him back to early teens, mid-teens of the draft of maybe 5 spots. Maybe if that's the case, the Eagles go into a different direction. They don't get Bijan Robinson or they feel like they're going to do something different here. They could do that and then try to acquire a mid-round pick in the same scenario because they don't have any 4th, 5th, 6th-round picks. So to keep themselves alive in this draft, on top of having another first-round pick on top of it, we kind of need those mid-round picks. So Nolan Smith would make a lot of sense for the Philadelphia Eagles. The more tape I watch, the more, is more poised. As much as you could kind of compare him to Will Anderson and say, you know what, a little bit less, height. Will Anderson 6'4", he's 6'3", and probably 8 pounds less than Will Anderson at this point. What Nolan at this point, guys, what Nolan Smith is going to give you is has that obviously ran that 4.3 in the combine, which was great, and it shows on tape. And I think that's what his patent for his game is his get-up speed. Really coming off the line is where you get a lot of value. And, I know in Georgia they would line him up very wide where, he would kind of pick his poison because if he's running out of tackle that's going to ready to pass block against him, he could fit real skinny in between, whether he wants to rush to the inside or rush to the outside. His speed is ridiculous. I mean, I think out of all the defensive ends, besides Will Anderson, you get something with Nolan Smith when it comes to his hands, really good with his hands. He knows how to get by guys, get that outside leverage. But sometimes he'll take a wide step to the left or a wide step to the right to get that first burst of quickness to get, to kind of get these tackles off balance. And he does it so well. He's becoming one of my favorite players of this draft as much as the Eagles aren't in the dire need of defensive end, but obviously I'm looking at the future too because, Barnett's gone, Brandon Graham's gone, you're losing some guys on the edge. Sweat's only here for a couple more seasons, whatever it is. So, you got to start to, get some younger studs on the outside. He had his pre-draft visit with the Philadelphia Eagles. He said it would be a dream to play with Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis. He said this scheme fits him perfectly. He would love to play here, and it seemed like it went really well. And you know what? If it's Nolan Smith, man, I wouldn't be against it at all because he brings some firepower. I mean, like I said, when you watch his tape, you wonder why he has that 4.3 speed. And I know I don't talk about it a lot with defensive linemen, but the way Georgia used him, especially if you want to play a base 3-4, want to put him as an outside linebacker, which a lot of teams don't play base 3-4. More teams are a mix as of right now in the NFL because no one just plays 3-4. I think it's mostly a mix at this point. So you're going to want to use him differently, and his coverage is great, and he's got the speed. He's got the backtracking speed to do it in his coverage. So That's the versatility you get. And obviously Sean Desai would probably have a lot of interest in him because he likes these linebackers that can cover. Dean can, and obviously getting Nicholas Morrow at that linebacker core. So when it comes to you're playing a base 3-4, you can use him as an outside linebacker and throw in some extra, and throw an extra lineman in there, and he could do both. So I think he's got a lot of value and can play both positions. You could line him up, put him as an outside linebacker and line him up and put him on blitzes and put him on stunts and whatever whatever you want to do with him. I mean, if Sean Desai was, he was top 5 in sacks in 21 with a less talent defense, I think he'll have more talent, definitely have more talent on this defense, like he kind of did it in 2021 with the Bears. So I know I'm kind of all over the place with Nolan Smith, but the more I watch him, the more I like him. Watched a lot of tape on him, and that speed from that 40 and why he is good quick off the ball, and it looks like he's going off sides every single damn play, is because of his get off. His get off is like the number one thing that he does so well, and tackles just cannot handle him because he has that lateral speed, and sometimes he'll take a huge sidestep and still run at 100% around tackles, and tackles just can't. There's not enough room to cover. That's why Georgia line him up wide at times, because then he can kind of pick his poison on what's the weakness here, rushing outside, rushing inside of the tackle when these, tackles are on pass protection. Obviously, a few games really stood out, the past couple years with Nolan Smith, and did a really good job. But I like this guy a lot. If he didn't have that first juice of quickness, he probably wouldn't be much of anything, because he's so fast, because he's explosive, because he could play obviously outside linebacker and defensive end. I think it's a win-win for the Eagles at the end of the day. So yes, you would want to trade back from 10. I would not take him at 10. It would be like the early, maybe 4 spots to 6 spots, at least 4 to 6 spots back, and I think you have a chance maybe to get him. Obviously, I think you acquire another mid-round pick and do something like that, because like I said, no mid-round picks for the Eagles. So Nolan Smith would love to play here. And they're bringing in some really good guys on these pre-draft visits. I mean, it's mostly been linemen. Besides Bijan Robinson, it mostly has been linemen and a couple corners. That's it. But we're kind of starting to see a pattern of what they have a lot of interest in. It looks like it's D-line right now. So let me know what you guys think about Nolan Smith in the comment section below. I try to explain as much as I possibly can, but I've watched this kid, and I would be I'd be crazy not to take him. If he's available, yeah, he'll be there at 10. There's no doubt about it. But you're not taking him at 10. So that's the news on Nolan Smith, and very happy he had an official visit, which is great. Secondly, I want to talk about defensive tackle, and I don't know where they're going here, if they want to draft one this year, if they're going to wait for Jalen Carr to move down the board and just see how it kind of goes, but or they want to go get Kalijah Kancey and move back. But I got to say, Quentin Jefferson is still out there. I've been saying this name for the past couple weeks. Quentin Jefferson was with Seattle. Sean Desai was in Seattle. Jefferson's 29, 5.5 sacks. I think would be a really good rotational guy for this defense. Okay, pass rush is really good. Like I would give him a shot. I don't know why he's still a free agent, why he hasn't signed with anybody yet, but I think in a nice rotation he'll play very well. I think it would be a nice depth piece for us going forward for at least this year, this season. It's just a 1-year rental at this point with Quentin Jefferson. So I've talked about this guy, and you look at Fletcher Cox, you look at Milton Williams, you have Jordan Davis coming back and really needs to have a really good year. So you got 4 guys, but realistically, I think you still got to add like 2 defensive tackles. Like I think you really at least 2. I'm looking for 2 right now, and I think adding Quentin Jefferson, maybe adding somebody from the draft, maybe not even early in the first round, maybe they draft someone a little bit later on. I don't know, but still trying to find that complementary piece for Jordan Davis, and I don't think it's going to be Fletcher Cox, because the less defensive tackles we have, the more snaps that Fletch has to play, and he played over 70% of the snaps last year and didn't play well. He's not the same Fletcher Cox he used to be. So got to do better. Need a better pass rusher than Fletch. I don't think he really has it that much anymore like he used to. But on a lower snap count, he will play a lot better. And I think you got to add more bodies here. If you want that $10 million for Fletcher Cox to work out the way it's supposed to be, you got to add more bodies. And I say 2 more bodies at defensive tackle, and you're pretty much set right there. So I'm kind of wondering if they will kind of hit on this position. They've hit linebacker, they've hit safety twice, they've hit defensive tackle Fletcher Cox, but that was obviously just a re-sign, hitting, obviously getting Bradbury back, so you've retained some players. This offseason was all about really retaining, but will they add a new face to this defensive line, another new face? And I think they should take a chance on Quentin Jefferson. I think he would do really well here. So that's definitely a name that is still out here. Now, I know we talk about the offseason. We talk about, free agency, the draft, the 2 most important things. But, guys, to be honest with you, a lot of people don't a lot of people don't get excited about the cuts. Like once it's the end of August, like when the Eagles have to make cuts, the new rule is out, guys, as of right now. The new rule is out that teams now on August 24th, if I'm reading it right, okay, teams now have to dilute the roster, and it's 1 day of cuts. Remember, it used to be like 3 days, like a long time ago. Now to cut the roster down, it's 1 day of cutting from 90 to 53 in one shot. Literally one shot. And this is actually good and bad for the Eagles. Bad for teams and the Eagles because you have to make tough decisions in 1 day. These guys are probably going to be up all night, and then they have to break to the players that didn't make the team, and some of them will probably be upset. It is what it is. This is what happens. But the good thing about this whole situation is that gives the Eagles a chance to acquire players off the waiver wire. Maybe guys that played good in preseason. Maybe guys that they were looking at in the draft that never got drafted or, didn't work out as a 5th round, 6th round pick, or maybe played well, but a team had a tough decision to cut either this guy or this guy, and they let that guy go. That it's a position that the Eagles need. If it's a kick returner, if it's a punt returner, like just something there. And I think that's what's the most important thing about cuts, especially this. You may be cutting everybody, to fit, from 90 to 53 in 1 day, but the Eagles could acquire some guys. Like they really can if they go out there and there's guys on the waiver wire or something like that. You never know what can come our way. So when it comes to, free agency is exciting, the draft's exciting, but another thing that's exciting is can the Eagles pry a player off of another roster that has some value? I would love to have a speed guy. I would love to have a speed guy at kick return or another kick returner, another punt returner. I don't know, something. Maybe they see another special teamer just for tackling. I don't know. Just you can get a lot of value. Teams will let go of players that have some value, and because it's just not enough for them to make the team, but might be a big need for another team in that player. So it's always something that you really have to look at. With the cuts, and especially since 1 day you're cutting 90 to 53, and that's it, man. That's it. So, that'll be a whole nother thing, and we're going to be like, oh my God, why did they cut him? He played well. We're going to be saying that. But obviously, Sirianni values these joint practices more than the preseason games because we only have 2 of them. We don't have 4 like we used to now. So guys won't get as good looks, and we won't be able to see that with our own 2 eyes for the guys that are trying to make this roster. And we get videos and from beat writers and we get stuff like that, but it's not enough sometimes. Like we want more eyes in the offseason how they're doing. And the preseason games, I don't know. It's just they're not going to play any starters for 2 weeks. They didn't. They played starters for 1 series, and we kind of worried a little bit. Like, man, this quarterback needs more work. This offense needs more work. Like, and they're going to be off for like 3-4 weeks. Like 4 weeks, you're going to be off, and like, boom, you're going to be fine first game. And obviously, it worked out very well. They still scored 35 points, 38 points, whatever it was against the Lions. But this is a part of the offseason, which I think is really important too. None other than free agency, the draft, and this right here is something that is another attribute we have to look out for. Like I said, you get guys off waivers, you never know. Someone could be a star here. We could be giving a star away. It's happened. It's happened before, guys. We gave away players that were nothing and could be big-time stars, or, you've done it before, But I think that's a big opportunity for the Eagles to get some good players. Not necessarily starters for your offense or defense if you could find some good depth pieces that could be steals, but special teams as well, which I think special teams is our biggest weakness. If you want to ask what a weakness is, it's that damn special teams coordinator. Covey flashed. They don't give Devin Allen a chance. Is Boston Scott really that good on kick returns at this point? I don't know. It's just, I feel like it's just the way they use these guys and how they're coached, and I don't know. Maybe it's more than that. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Okay, we got Nolan Smith on a pre-draft visit. So excited. Explosive player playing in Philadelphia with Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean is his dream. Would be a dream to him, quote unquote. And then obviously Quentin Jefferson is still available. I don't know. I never see content creators make videos on Quentin Jefferson because I think he's still a really good player. And he's lasted this long in free agency. I feel like he'll get cheaper and cheaper every day. The Eagles could sign him for 1 year. I don't see why not. And then obviously the third part of our offseason is the cuts and what the Eagles can acquire. we can get excited for free agency, the draft. And this is another thing you can get excited for too, before the season starts, if they can acquire some players for the future or someone that could be on the I don't know. You never know what you can get at this point. So other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about Nolan Smith. What do you guys think about Quentin Jefferson, or just in general of what free agents are still out there you still want to kind of fill some spots? The Eagles will push on those. Other than that, guys, make sure you check the description for the Shakedown Podcast, the Philly Shakedown Podcast merch. It is in the description below for all pre-orders for the Bijan Robinson stuff, all that great stuff. Check out, obviously, all the other videos as well. Thank you for liking and subscribing to and the videos and all that great stuff, all the support. I can't talk right now, so don't blame me. I'm going to end this video before it gets worse. And I'll see you guys on the next one. SHAKESQUAD, follow us. Peace out, guys. Peace.